What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs, a safe place for everyone. Well, almost everyone. If you're an a-hole or a local politician from Iowa that demands I take a video down, this isn't your safe place. Move on, Chuckles, we got towns to roast here. All the new cars have navigation systems that tell us how to get to the places we want to go, the best routes to take, and where all the traffic is. I think they should start telling us where not to go and the places we should avoid. It should tell you things like, turn right in 500 yards to avoid a neighborhood that is known for supplying illegal pharmaceuticals and temporary companionship. Every city has them. They should be avoided. Since the land nav won't tell you, I will. For this list, we are ranking by your chance of being a victim of a crime in a certain neighborhood. It's simple math. How many people live there versus how many crimes are committed. We can overcomplicate it and, take into account where these people may be coming from and all that, but we're not. We're just keeping it basic. Chances of being a victim of a crime. Now, in the comment section, we will have people that think this whole thing is wrong. They always seem to think that either their neighborhood is the worst and it didn't make the list and they're upset about it, or they try and claim that there's nothing wrong with their neighborhood and I'm just making this up. I'm going to tell you this, numbers don't lie. And if you want to use the argument, well, if you don't live here, you don't know. No, there's so many holes in that argument, you just shouldn't even bring it up, okay? One thing I do want to point out statistically, you have more law-abiding, good people in these neighborhoods. They just have some really motivated a-holes doing a lot of bad things. So, where are the most dangerous neighborhoods in America? Let's take a look. Number 10, Baltimore, Maryland. If you didn't know Baltimore had some crime issues, I'd like to congratulate you on not watching the news. Baltimore's been in bad shape since before anyone walking the earth was alive. One of the worst neighborhoods in Bmore is the South Bethel Street, Eastern Avenue neighborhood. For the most part, this is a low-income housing development called Perkins Homes. When it comes to violent crimes, for every 1,000 people living in this area, 66 of them will become a victim of a violent crime every single year. The chances of becoming a victim of any crime here are 1 in 14. The Perkins Homes housing area was given a bunch of money back in 2018 to kind of fix the place up. New parks, new schools, maybe even a patch of grass that doesn't have bloodstains. Things are looking up for this area. Number 9, Cleveland, Ohio. Besides the Cleveland Browns ripping off their season ticket holders for decades, you have a good chance of being robbed or assaulted yourself. Cleveland was established on July 22, 1796 by surveyors from the Connecticut Land Company while they were laying out Connecticut's Western Reserve into townships and a capital city. They named the new settlement Cleveland after their leader, General Moses Cleveland. He had an extra A in the name. They got rid of the A and stuck with it with the city. Anyway, I think if General Cleveland had a crystal ball back then and could see how this place was going to turn out, he would have politely declined the honor. One of the worst neighborhoods in Cleveland is Kinsman Road and Minnie Avenue. If you're looking for it on Google Maps, it's in an area called Kinsman, neighborhood, whatever you want to say. 67.3 people out of every 1,000 will be a victim of a violent crime in this neighborhood. That's not good. You have a 1 out of 14 chance of being a victim of a crime in this neighborhood. Number 8, Monroe, Louisiana. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you've probably noticed Louisiana is showing up more and more. While the rest of the country is getting better in things like poverty, environment, and crime, Louisiana decided that progress would probably be a little bit too hard, so they're just going to continue to suck. Monroe is a prime example. The only good thing about Monroe is the low cost of living. And really, that one just kind of happens. It's hard to charge people things when they have no money. The poverty level in Monroe is 129% higher than the national average. And probably their worst neighborhood is in the vicinity of Texas Avenue and South 8th Street. The violent crime rate is 71.24 for every 1,000 residents in this neighborhood. The chances of becoming a victim of a crime here are 1 in 14. Number 7, Indianapolis, Indiana. North Indianapolis is a freaking nightmare. Almost half the homes in the neighborhood are vacant. It's like a smaller version of Detroit. This vacancy rate is 97.6% higher than the rate of all the other U.S. neighborhoods. This neighborhood sucks, and it has a history of weirdness as far back as the 1930s. Now, a whole bunch of other weirdness has gone on since then, but this case in particular was a little weird. On October 10th, 1934, Alice Stoll was abducted. The Stoll's maid told the police that a well-dressed, fiendishly looking stranger knocked on the door in their Louisville home looking for the lady of the house. Not sure how long it would have taken to drive to Louisville back then, but these days it's about a 2-hour drive, so it's not terribly far away. Anyway, the maid was gagged and wired to a chair. The man struck Miss Stoll in the back of the head with a lead pipe, taped her hands, and dressed her up in a blue polka dotted dress that belonged to this dude's wife. He then led her from the home at gunpoint. Later, it was revealed that the kidnapper was Thomas Robinson Jr., 27 years old. He used to be a lawyer. Robinson was a disgruntled former employee of the kidnapped lady's husband, Barry Stoll, and had been an inmate at an insane asylum in Tennessee. So this guy was working on all cylinders. Anyway, she was held for 6 days in a closet in an apartment in North Indianapolis until the ransom was paid. So he let her go, and he was on the lam for about 2 years before they finally caught him. Now, a little clincher to this one, the abductor's wife and her father were arrested and did some jail time, but he escaped for 2 years, finally died in prison. They sentenced him to life. The violent crime rate in North Indianapolis is 71.37. So 71.37 people will have a violent crime committed against them out of every 1,000. The chances of becoming a victim here in general in a crime is 1 in 14. Number 6, Rockford, Illinois. Not a lot of people on the West Coast know Rockford, Illinois is a bad city to live in. And I'm sure a fair amount of them didn't even know it was a city until I mentioned it just now. When you think about Illinois, a lot of people think it's just like farmland and Chicago and nothing else. They don't realize there's a bunch of other cities there. Rockford is a sad little city northwest of Chicago. What's sad about it is it still looks like a nice place to live in most areas. Looks can be deceiving. You have 100-year-old homes all over the place that are still maintained most of the time. It's just too bad that the crime has gotten out of control here. Where it's spiked in the last handful of years is Grove Street and Kishwaukee Street. That little area right there is where it seems to jump up in the crime neighborhood. 82 out of every 1,000 residents will be a victim of a violent crime every year in Rockford, Illinois, especially this area. 1 in 13 will be a victim of any other crime. Just 1 in 13 people. God, that's getting low. Number 5, Kansas City, Missouri. The East 38th Street and Benton Boulevard neighborhood of Kansas City, Missouri has seen a population drop of about 15% in the last 7 years. It's one of the highest population declines in the nation, and that's because this neighborhood sucks. People move when they have no jobs, no money, and keep getting robbed and assaulted. It's just that's how people are. They don't seem to appreciate that kind of treatment, and as soon as they get a chance, they just bolt from the city. But for some reason, some people are still staying there. It's not like they have anything worth staying for. It's Missouri. All right, now everyone in Kansas City, listen to this right now. Stand up. Everyone stand up, look around. Now pack some things and leave. Number 4, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The area around North Lewis Avenue and East 46th Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma is dangerous. If you find yourself in this area, treat it like you're chest deep in the ocean and somebody yelled shark. Pee yourself a little, but really don't worry about that part because it happens naturally. Then keep your eyes open and get out of the ocean, or in this case, Lewis Avenue and East 46th Street, as fast as possible. The North Lewis Avenue, East 46th Street neighborhood has seen its violent crime rate increase nearly 50% in the past 5 years. To 75.31 per every 1,000 residents will be a victim of a violent crime, and the chances of becoming a victim of any crime are 1 in 13. Number 3, Chicago, Illinois. Altgeld Gardens. Altgeld Gardens is a Chicago Housing Authority public housing project located on the far south side of Chicago, Illinois. Altgeld Garden was nicknamed Chicago's Toxic Donut due to having the highest concentration of hazardous waste sites in the United States, like right there. And this is really one of the neighborhoods that does a good job of bringing Chicago down. I've mentioned it in other videos before. Chicago's really not that bad. They've got a few neighborhoods that are downright scary and need to be, completely bulldozed, but most of Chicago is good. This is a perfect example of what's bringing Chicago down. This little housing area and the neighborhood around it. 76 out of 1,000 residents will be a victim of a violent crime every year in Altgeld Gardens. You have a 1 in 10 chance of being a victim of any crime. 1 in 10. That's crazy. Number 2, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is another one of those cities I get a mix of emails about. Half the emails say that it's not as bad as I made it sound, and the other half ask me why I sugarcoated it because it's so much worse. Memphis has some scary neighborhoods. Probably the worst would be East E.H. Crum Boulevard and South 4th Street, right there, that intersection, that area around there, that's probably the worst. This neighborhood looks like it was involved in some sort of terrorist attack. Doesn't it look like it was bombed out at some point? The good news is they're terrorist proof now. Anyone wanting to come there, blow something, they're all, oh, looks like this place already been hit, and they'll move on. Out of every 1,000 residents, 77.2 will be a victim of a violent crime every year. You have a 1 in 9 chance of becoming a victim of any crime. And number 1, Baltimore, Maryland. Congratulations, Baltimore. You're on the list twice. You're the king of suckage tonight. 2 of your neighborhoods made the list. Probably the worst neighborhood in Baltimore is North Monroe Street and West Landvale. That area around there, it's bad. The neighborhood stands out for being the worst in crime and having an average per capita income lower than 96.7% of the rest of the neighborhoods in the United States. Yeah, they're that bad. Over 1/3 of the households are run by single moms. These pictures kind of speak for themselves. The violent crime rate here is 78.22. Of 1,000 residents, 78 people are getting jacked one way or another. The chance of becoming a victim of any crime here are 1 in 11. It sucks to live in this neighborhood of Baltimore. Alright, so that is my top 10 worst neighborhoods in the country for 2020. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget all the links below. Don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't. Share these videos on your social media. Be my friend. See you on the Saturday night live streams. Be nice to each other.